Guys, welcome back, and thanks for joining me on another episode of Henderson Equipment. It's July 5th, day after America's birthday, and we got to fix Pat's tractor. Pat was farming a little too hard, and sure enough, she overheated, and it appears that it blew the head gasket. So let's bring her over here, do some troubleshooting, and see if we can confirm it. You know, listening to this thing, it really doesn't sound bad. I mean, it sounds like your typical diesel tractor. Just at the end there of the black. Let me crank it up a little more, actually. Alright, so I'm right at the edge of the black. So I'm going to let this sit. If anything, maybe a little bit in the white. So I'm right at the edge of the black. Yeah, I'm right at the edge of the black. So I'm going to let this sit. Quite frankly, I'm going to have a beer. And I'll come back and we'll see if this pressure dropped. Alright, it's been a whole 3 minutes. And damn. Looks like we lost almost 4 psi. Almost 4 psi. So we're losing about a psi a minute. Interesting. Well, I'm going to crank this system up even higher. Let's go to 20. I guess let's go to 20. You know what? Let's go to 23 psi and see if that drops quicker. All right, we're at 23 psi. Right on the dot. Man, I think I can see it moving. Okay, it's been about another 3 minutes, and look at that. We lost 4 psi. So we are losing about a psi a minute. We should talk about why does the head gasket crack. You know, it could crack with age. Usually age isn't the thing. Usually things overheat. So what would cause this to overheat? The radiator could be clogged, radiator could be dirty, thermostat could have failed, could be ran it low on oil, something to get the unit really hot. Something's going on with the starter. These fins get dirty. You know, in a perfect world, you can see through these things, and I can barely see through the fins. So I bet you this is part of the problem. Be curious to see how much crap is stuck in here. And then definitely want to take that thermostat out. You know, it looks like somebody's got some schmoop on there, so someone probably changed that before. So we're going to take that out, throw it in some boiling water, see if that's opening up, and then we will lift the head. That's all dirt and debris. It's completely clogged. Should be able to see through this thing. I can't. See how these are clogged? These are all clogged. Look at this, all clogged. Nice. That's a hornet's nest. One of them mud hornets. Anyway. Might be hard for you guys to see, but this is completely clogged. This thing is not getting air movement through it at all. This is a big issue because the machine can't cool down if the fins are all dirty. I was just putting the bolts back in place for the radiator, and I see there's this big gigantic foam thing in here. I don't know what the hell this thing is. This is nothing but a dust maker, and it's gonna create issues. I have no clue why this thing was here. Oh, there's been some f***ery. There's the thermostat. Anyway, let's throw this in some boiling water and we'll see if it opens up. See how it's closed? I'll bring you inside, show you it's closed, and then I'll put it in boiling water and it should open up immediately once seeing the boiling water. And the way that happens is this metal contracts against the spring and it opens up and allows flow to go. If this doesn't open up, then it's bad. This looks like it's in pretty good shape though. So we're going to take our tongs and you can see thermostat is not open. So let's drop it in. The thermostat should open up pretty much instantaneously because again, we're at 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Let it saturate. And I will say I do not think it's opening up. Yeah, the water's boiling. And it did not open up one bit. That is not good. Shouldn't have to do this. What's going on with this alternator? But it's being quite difficult. Those are the injector lines. Just got off the phone with Pat. He was checking in on his tractor and he was doing some research and he tells me that the water pumps fail on these things. At least that's what he did some research. I don't think the water pump's bad on this one because like I hear it. Like I hear it like trying to pull, but while we're this far, it makes sense just to pull this water pump off and at least take a look and inspect it, see what it looks like. Worst case, you just buy a new gasket for it, or the water pump is indeed bad. I really don't think it is, but let's see what it looks like under here. Sheesh. That dowel pin was stuck on there. Here's the water pump. And it's like, it's a cast water pump. This thing is in very good shape. No play. Looks good to me. Yeah. So water pump is good. Which is good, that's what you want to hear. So I would think, yeah, no scratching. Minimal cavitation. I think we're in pretty good shape here for a water pump, but I am going to get a new gasket, obviously. So, but it's good at least we check this just to rule it out that this is not the issue. I think these are all the exact same. but I'm going to put them in the exact same order that they were in. Can't tell you why I always do this if they're all the exact same length, but I always do. Tell you what, my snap-on gun has never failed me, ever. God damn. Little thing's heavy. It's dry carbon. Really don't look bad. Let's take a look at the head. I'm going to cover this engine up. Pat wants to get to farming in a couple days, so hopefully they got all the parts in stock. If they don't, I'll rush order everything. But yeah, at least let me clean everything up and bag everything, and then we'll get back to it. Well, while we're waiting on parts to come in, let's get this radiator all cleaned up. Can you guys see through that? Can you see any sunlight? Maybe only a little. Power wash this thing like 5 times. 5 times you could finally see light through it. So unfortunately, I'm going to get on my soapbox and complain a little bit, and then I'll let you guys get back to me putting this tractor back together. So I ordered these parts back up. My brother-in-law Pat dropped this tractor off the 4th of July weekend, and within 2 days I had this thing completely apart, knew all the parts I needed to order, etc. And I'm very disappointed in Mahindra's parts. I called, the dealer. Actually, I called multiple dealers, but I called the local dealer by me to order these parts. And, all of them, nobody had any of these parts in stock. And they all came from, a common warehouse, apparently. And, they said the average lead time for Mahindra parts is like 10 to 14 days. Which, when I first heard that, I was like, 10 to 14 days? That's a long time just to get basic parts. And yeah, I ordered head gasket, I ordered new radiator hoses, a valve cover gasket, and a water pump gasket. That's all I ordered. I really didn't order too much. Oh, I'm lying to you. And I ordered a thermostat and a gasket for the thermostat. So I placed the order. Sure enough, I called when the 10-day mark came. I said, hey, I still haven't heard anything about the parts. And they said, yeah, they haven't come in yet. We're waiting for them to come in. I was like, okay. So I gave the guys 2 more days, and then I called, and I was complaining a little bit. Long story short, it took 4 weeks to get these parts in. 4 weeks. That's a huge issue. If this was a Kubota or a John Deere or a Cat, if I couldn't get the parts the exact same day, I could get them the next day, or worst case in 2 days. Even if you think of Ford hasn't produced a tractor since the 90s. And if I needed a part for a Ford tractor, I could call it in Holland, and I'd have that part, if not the same day, I'd have that part in 2 or 3 days. So Mahindra's in for a rude awakening if these are how the parts are. I called a couple dealerships, and the statement that was used to me is "Welcome to Mahindra life, where you wait forever to get parts." That's not sustainable. All right, so this is the Mahindra head gasket that came in. This is the replacement one. And I want to show you, this is the head gasket that was installed. Now this head gasket is cooked. The machine definitely got hot. I mean, this is brittle. It's, it's shot. But what I think is interesting, this is a one-piece gasket. It's multiple layers, but it's compressed together into one piece. Where this is has multi-layers. This is a multi-layer gasket. This is thicker, actually, than this gasket. Granted, you could say, well, this gasket's compressed. It is compressed, but it's still not as thick as this multi-layer one. There are subtle differences in this Mahindra head gasket versus this one, where I'm actually starting to wonder if this is an aftermarket head gasket on this tractor. Like, was there an issue before and they pulled this head apart? Possibly, but I don't know manufacturers to, change a head gasket style on such a newer tractor so quickly. But you never know. In any case, we're tossing this one, and I got to go get the head and the block prepped to accept this new head gasket. This head gasket was really cooked on this head, so I really had to work to get all the shit off of here. So gonna have to do an engine oil flush once we reinstall everything. So there's no orientation direction. Usually head gaskets have a top and a bottom. I am not seeing one on this, and maybe it doesn't matter, but they do have it stamped here with a number, and also the way the rivets are out is towards the bottom, so I'm going to classify this as the top and put it on this way. With these multi-layer gaskets, see that? You have to be very careful that debris isn't getting in between these gaskets, because ultimately you're just going to smash that debris in here, and you will create another head gasket issue if there's any debris in there. The next thing I'm going to complain about with Mahindra is their service manual is subpar. My brother-in-law bought the service manual for this tractor, and it doesn't have the head bolt torque spec, what the head bolts are supposed to be torqued to. And, that's basic stuff that any service manual I've ever purchased or owned has told me what the head bolt torque specs should be, or what the valve lash spec should be. And this service manual doesn't have it. The service manual seems to be just like something that was printed from a program from Mahindra. It's a little sloppy if you ask me. Anyway, I spoke to a service tech that works on Mahindra tractors, and he told me that you got to tighten the head bolts to 90 Newton meters and then 60 degrees on top of that, and that has always worked for them. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. Alright, now that these are all torqued, let's do the 60-degree sequence. So I do not have an angled torque wrench, but obviously 90 degrees would be from here to here. 60 degrees, I'm going to bring it out to here. Uno. Dos. Tres. Four is quattro, I think, right? Quattro. Cinco. Six. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis. Or seis. Seven. Seven. What the hell is seven? 8 is ocho, right? Is 7 siete or something? I don't know. Set these to 12 thousandths. So I'm setting these to 12 thousandths because the manual doesn't tell you what to set them to. And this engine's so similar to a Kubota that I'm going to set it the exact same way. This valve cover gasket is the heaviest, most intense valve cover gasket I've ever touched. And it is a mother trying to install this thing. But before I reassemble everything, I want to turn this thing over and make sure I'm bleeding out the injectors. So you'll see diesel pumping out above the engine here. You can see I got diesel coming out there. Let's give her a go. Sounds real good. So the one part I've still yet to receive is the thermostat. Yeah, it's been 4 weeks since I ordered a thermostat and it still has not come in yet. Anyway, I really didn't pay no attention to the thermostat. I just pulled it out and actually I threw it in my scrap pile. So I pulled it out of the scrap pile and I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, man, why is it taking so long to get? And, you know, Mahindra wants almost $100 for this thing. $100 for the simple little thermostat. Anyway, I was trying to match these up and sure enough, I'm like, man, this looks like one's out of the Kubotas. And, you know, I keep saying that this engine looks just like a Kubota. And sure enough, so I went down to Kubota and I brought the thermostat and I gave them some engine makes. And, yeah, this is identical to, almost identical, I should say, to a Kubota thermostat. Now, the Kubota's thermostat, this is a Japanese thermostat. This has no markings. I doubt this, maybe this is South Korean. This might be Indian. Either way, it ain't Japanese. So, also, like Kubota wants $36 for this thermostat. Totally reasonable. $36. Mahindra wants almost $100. I think it's like 98 and change. That is stupid. So, anyway, if anybody has a Mahindra 4-cylinder diesel, I think this is a 2.2 liter. That's the part number from Kubota. All right, save yourself $70. And the thermostat gasket, this is the one from Kubota that will match up and work just fine. Kubota wants, I think, $3 for this, and Mahindra wants $12. So I don't know what's going on, but let's go drop this in. There's so much room in here. Look at that. That Kubota thermostat fits perfect. And the gasket mates up perfect. If this isn't a Kubota knockoff, I don't know what isn't. These radiator hoses are very brittle and like hard. I mean, literally, this just snapped right off. These are like peeling back, but it's so hard. When it gets hard and when you see these like stress fractures in here like this, that's a typical sign that you have exhaust gas or combustion gas, I should say. Combustion gas, hitting this hose, and this hose gets hot and doesn't like the diesel exhaust, and ultimately gets hot and brittle. So I didn't see this before, but it is so hard. I mean, that's a prime example of a blown head gasket, and you've been running it blown for a little bit. This terminal looks new, but I see a big crack there. Right? Isn't that like cracked? I think that's why the starter is acting up. So this is the broken terminal that came off, and this is the new one I'm going to put on. Look at the size difference. I'm assuming this is some like Chinese or Indian thing and just broke right away. We're going to add a cold stone to the radiator, help keep the temperatures low. Carbonation will help emulsify any dirt debris in the radiator too. Moving a little bit because of the water pump, obviously, but I don't see any bubbles coming up. Nothing seems to be leaking yet. For about 3 or 4 miles. It hasn't got up to the halfway point yet, but so far she sounds good. I haven't noticed any leaks or anything. Just having a nice Sunday drive. What the f*** is that? So this thing rode well, operated fine, no leaks. I just parked her here, and I think we're ready to put the covers on. So put the covers on, put the loader on, and then this thing's ready to work. I would say the machine is plenty strong enough. I mean, this is a big tree that's knocked down, and this is a good little grapple. I mean, this thing holds onto the logs tight, so, but needless to say, the engine's strong enough, healthy enough. She's not burning smoke, she's not overheating, and she's, you know, able to pick up some big shit, so that's what you'd want. So that wraps up this episode of Henderson Equipment. Thanks for watching. Please hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.